The COMEX Silver Futures Market March 1st notice date is this Friday, February 27th, 2026, and watch out for what follows. The math is about to stop mathing, and hard. So here's what just happened. February, a minor delivery month for silver, just saw roughly 50 million ounces delivered. To put that in perspective, a typical February might see 5 million, and a really heavy February, 15 million ounces delivered. This was between, call it 3.5 and 10 times the typical amount. Guess what's left? 100 million ounces. And guess for which month? March, the major delivery month on COMEX. So now historically February is light. And the big delivery cycles for COMEX are March, May, July, September, and December. So March is one of the heavy ones, traditionally one of the heaviest. Historically, March deliveries are often 3 to 5 times larger than February. Got that? 3 to 5 times larger, and we just saw 50 million. So by that math, that means there's somewhere between 150 and 250 million, historically speaking, if we look at historic ratios, that we can expect are going to be going out the door in March. Now guess how many ounces are actually there? Not that many, about 100 million. So let's process this calmly. Say there's 100 million ounces just to keep the math clean. So in a light month, 50 million ounces just left the system. That was February. And heading into a historically heavy month, you're only sitting on about 100 million ounces of registered. That's the silver that you can actually take delivery of. And here's where people get confused. They say, but open interest is always bigger than inventory, and that's correct, it always is. And COMEX does not need to cover 100% of open interest with physical metal. It never has. The system works because only a fraction of contracts stand for delivery. Most roll forward or settle financially. But behavior matters. February did not behave normally. Delivery activity was, let's call it elevated. And a much larger share of contracts stood instead of rolling. That's how you get 50 million ounces in what was supposed to be a sleepy month. And so now let's layer in March. March open interest is typically much larger than February open interest. That's why March deliveries historically run 3 to 5 times February's size. If February delivered 10 million ounces in a normal year, and March delivers 40 million, nobody blinks. But February did not deliver 10, it delivered 50. So the real question becomes, if elevated delivery behavior carries into historically large contract month, what happens? Well, let's run a conservative scenario. Let's say registered inventory is 100 million ounces. If even 25% of large March open interest stood for delivery and delivery behavior remains above historical norms, you can quickly approach or exceed that 100 million ounce registered cushion. And so does that mean COMEX runs out of silver? Not necessarily. Because there's no eligible inventory, metal sitting in warehouses could be converted to registered. But that assumes owners want to convert it. It assumes they're willing to deliver at current prices. It assumes cooperation. Markets don't run on assumptions. They run on incentives. And when stress builds, exchanges change incentives. Which brings us to what actually happens in the real world. When delivery pressure rises, CME Group doesn't just sit back and hope, they raise margins. Have they done that recently? You bet. They increase capital required to hold positions. They force weaker hands to liquidate or roll. Volatility spikes, leverage comes down, pressure cools. Another tool they have, and they're not afraid to use it, cash settlement. Perfectly legal, written into the framework. If contracts can be closed financially rather than through physical transfer, The exchange preserves function even if physical flows are tight. But think about what that implies. If silver futures contracts increasingly result in dollars instead of silver, what exactly is being priced? Confidence is the backbone of futures markets. Participants believe the contract is as good as the commodity. If that belief weakens, even slightly, you can see divergence between paper pricing and physical market pricing. So let's be clear, an outright Hollywood-style COMEX default may be unlikely. Exchanges are engineered specifically to prevent that exact outcome. They can raise margins. They can alter delivery incentives. They can facilitate warehouse conversions. They can also apply enormous financial pressure to keep the system orderly. But the risk profile changes when a minor month pulls 50 million ounces out of inventory. A major month historically runs 3 to 5 times larger. Registered supply sits around 100 million ounces, and delivery behavior is running hotter than normal. So that's not conspiracy, it's just simple math. If behavior normalizes, March passes without incident and the system absorbs it. But if behavior stays elevated, if a larger than normal percentage of longs stand, then March becomes a stress test. Not because somebody on the internet said so, because 50 million ounces just left in a light month, and the heavy month is next. And it starts this Friday, a couple days from today. Markets can survive volatility. They can survive margin hikes. They can survive forced liquidations, but what they struggle to survive is a visible gap between paper promises and physical supply. March tells us how wide that gap really is. And once you see the numbers, you understand why nobody on television wants to walk through them slowly. Because once you do, the questions ask themselves. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. As always, take care of yourself and each other and build that stack.